Hello people, it's Shifty here and we're sitting outside of the old government house, and sitting next to me is Noel Mengel, the chief music writer for the Courier Mail. Where was your kind of big break in journalism?
Well, I guess playing in bands, you're always looking for the big break in bands, and it never came. I think, you know, the bands made some good music. I think the big move for me was I'd done some newspaper work up here, went to Sydney and got straight into magazines, and I knew I'd found my mark. I never set out to become the chief music writer of a broadsheet paper. I think possibly the same if you set out to be the biggest band in Australia. It's not going to work out that way.
What were some of the biggest highlights for you, Noel, in terms of your actual musical career?
The highlights, you know, there were plenty of great shows. It was a very vibrant, healthy scene. So, in terms of the pub rock scene was happening, so played great supports to big crowds. You know, In Excess, Midnight Oil, Sunny Boys, a lot of great bands in the early '80s. We played with them all and played some great shows. Yep.
What advice you would actually give to somebody who's aspiring to start a career in music journalism?
Perseverance, I think, is the key. There's so many things in life, you know, looking back now in my 40s, just reflecting on the bands that are successful and other people who are successful in almost any endeavour, their perseverance, and they've got a thick hide and they keep going. If you're serious about a career in journalism, obviously there's arts degrees and communications degrees, and that's all practice. Be well read about the topic, be passionate about the topic, and give people something that they don't already know.
Where does basically the scene sit now?
My feeling is there's always good music in any city. There's always really talented people. You have to persevere long enough to get really good. These days there's an immense amount of competition. As we know, Perth's sort of where it's at in the terms of new bands at the moment. But those things come and go. Nobody ever got anywhere by giving up or thinking that the creativity went away. Creativity doesn't go away, and talented people don't go away.
To what extent is isolation still relevant?
Certainly not as relevant as it was, which may be why the next scene might be Cairns. You know, I don't know, or Alice Springs or Darwin. Isolation does, you know, if you look back at the history of rock music, isolation's done some fabulous things. Look at Memphis, look at New Orleans. These places weren't the centre of the industry, were they? They were as far as you could get from Los Angeles and New York. Look, a great thing for a band, I think, is or any musician, songwriter, a band, you have to find your own voice. I think finding that voice, and if that comes from isolation, great. That was a great thing in Brisbane's favour, and I'm sure in Perth's favour, that people were able to go about for a few years being a band, just writing new songs and getting to a level that's really worth breaking through without having record companies and managers and agents getting in their ear and telling them to be this, be that.
Excellent stuff. Thank you very much, Noel.